You know, the smartphone in your pocket. Every single day it's writing a diary. It's a secret diary of every place you go, every step you take. The thing is, you're not the one writing it, and you've probably never even read it, but other people have. So today, we're going to open that diary and reveal this invisible industry that tracks, packages, and sells your life story, and the really dangerous consequences that can follow. And it all starts with this single, anonymous-looking line of code.
So it begins with something like this. Something that looks completely anonymous, right? Just a random string of letters and numbers. This is what you look like inside a huge data file that's being sold by a data broker. It seems harmless, doesn't it? Just one meaningless ID in a sea of billions of data points?
But here's the thing. That anonymity, it's a total illusion. And it can be broken with just two fundamental pieces of information that your phone records every single day: where you sleep and where you work or go to school. With just those 2 points, a faceless ID starts to get a name.
So for example, journalists took this ID, 86A5059B, and they found a simple repeating pattern. Every single night, the phone was sitting still at one residential building. Then, every weekday, it traveled to a nearby school. Well, cross-referencing just those two locations was enough to unmask the ID and find the real person behind it, an 18-year-old student named Emma.
And just like that, Emma's private life became a product. Without her ever really knowing, without ever giving explicit permission for this. Every move she made was being harvested from apps on her phone, bundled up with millions of others, and then sold on the open market to literally anyone willing to pay for it.
And this data, it builds a startlingly complete picture. I mean, it wasn't just showing her home and school. It revealed the really intimate details of her life. The data mapped out her exact bus route, her regular shopping trips, even which supermarket she liked to go to. It logged her hangouts with friends at McDonald's, and it even traced the precise path she took while walking her dog through the fields near her house.
And here's what Emma herself had to say when reporters showed her her own life laid out on a map. "It's pretty unreal," she said. "If some man had this data and decided to stalk me, that would be scary." And her reaction, it just gets right to the heart of the matter. This isn't just about data privacy, it's about personal safety.
So how does this even happen, right? How does this simple act of checking the weather on your phone turn your life into a commodity? Well, this brings us to the massive unregulated industry that's behind it all, what some call the data gold rush.
To understand the sheer scale we're talking about, just look at this number, 3.6 billion. Now that's not the total amount of data out there. No. This was the number of individual location pings in just one free sample dataset that journalists got from a single data broker in Florida. It's an almost incomprehensible amount of information.
You see, the whole process is a well-oiled machine. It starts when you use those free apps. A lot of these apps contain little bits of code from other companies. These tiny toolkits that harvest your location data in the background. They then share or sell this data to hundreds of ad partners. And from there, data brokers sweep it all up, package it, and sell it on these marketplaces where, sure, the buyers could be advertisers, but they could also be government agencies, criminal organizations, or even foreign spies.
Now, the advertising industry will often claim this data is imprecise, that it's only used to target large groups of people. But the reality, which investigators found when they analyzed these datasets, is chillingly different. The data was, and I'm quoting here, so exact you could see not just that someone was in the building, but which corner of the room the cell phone was in.
And that level of precision, it completely transforms your phone from a simple communication device into a potential weapon. This isn't just about getting an ad for a coffee shop you walked past. This is about data being used to target actual human lives.
I want you to meet Basma Mustafa. She's an Egyptian journalist and dissident living in exile in Berlin. Now, even though she fled her home country, she says she's been followed, harassed, and threatened by Egyptian agents. She lives in constant fear, wondering how they always seem to know where she is. And the answer could very well be in her pocket, sold by the very same data brokers we've been talking about.
And her case is far from unique. The consequences are devastatingly real. A Catholic priest was forced to resign after his location data, including from the dating app Grindr, was used to out him. A Mexican drug cartel analyzed an FBI agent's phone data to identify, intimidate, and even kill his local contacts. And in the US, software is being used to track women who visit abortion clinics, putting them at risk of prosecution.
The threat escalates all the way to the highest levels of national security. Researchers were actually able to use commercially available data to track a person from inside a well-known NSA spy station in Germany.
They followed this person's movements to a gym, a supermarket, and even on a trip to the U.S. Embassy. This is a spy's dream, and it's a security agency's absolute worst nightmare.
Former U.S. National Security Advisor John Bolton explains the danger perfectly. He says that intelligence services or criminal groups use this data to build what's called a pattern of life. They learn your habits, your routes, your routines. And this information lets them plan a kidnapping or an assassination and figure out how to get away with it.
And this isn't just theoretical. In the war in Ukraine, smartphones are a lifeline for soldiers to connect with their families, but they are also a massive liability. At a command post in the Zaporizhia region, soldiers were seen openly using their phones. A few days later, a Russian ballistic missile hit that exact location. Location data has become a weapon of war.
Okay, so if the risks are this high, affecting everyone from teenagers to soldiers to top-level spies, why hasn't anything been done? Well, the answer seems to lie in a system that has spiraled into what many experts are now calling a total loss of control.
I mean, if we were to draw out the power dynamic, it would look something like this. You, the user, have almost no control. Regulators and even the big tech companies that make the apps are struggling to keep up. The vast majority of the power, it lies with this shadowy network of data brokers who operate in an incredibly lucrative but completely unregulated market.
And the confusion, it goes surprisingly deep. Get this, when journalists at the French newspaper Le Monde started investigating one of these data sets, they made a shocking discovery. Data was coming from their own app. But when they asked their tech teams, their marketing teams, their legal teams about it, nobody had any idea how it happened. The system is so complex and so opaque, even the people who create the apps are lost.
Martin Anar, an investigative journalist who worked on that story, he summed it up this way.
It's a total loss of control, on the part of the users, on the part of public government authorities, and if even a loss of control on the part of this industry. Basically, nobody is truly steering the ship.
Which brings it all back to you and the device right there in your hand. The free weather app, the game, the shopping tool, yeah, they offer convenience. But seeing how this data is used to stalk, to intimidate, to kill, and even to wage war, we have to ask a very serious question. What is that convenience really costing you?